5, 4, 3, 2, 1, watch me.
You blitz all night. And if they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm gonna take every last one of you out. Hey, the blitz is coming, boys.
What's going on? Welcome back to a brand new episode of The Blitz. I'm your host, William Spencer, and this show is to provide you with the latest and greatest in tips, tricks, news, and advice to prepare you for your fantasy football league in just 5 minutes or less. Now, Terry McLaurin has been in the news cycle recently because of his ongoing contract issues. Still, in today's episode, we'll take a look at what's been going on with the Washington Commanders wideout and what his potential fantasy outlook could be for 2025. But before we jump into the episode, make sure that you're following the Fantasy's Finest YouTube channel for the latest episodes of The Blitz. And you can also find The Blitz in audio format on your favorite podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And make sure to like, share, and comment on the podcast episode, as it allows us to see what you guys like and helps grow the channel via the algorithms. So, with all of that good stuff out of the way, let's get right into what's been going on with Terry McLaurin and how that pans out for fantasy football this season. Now, the Washington Commanders and Terry McLaurin have been going at it for weeks this offseason as McLaurin looks to get a new contract done. But the Commodores have been seemingly reluctant to get a deal done. McLaurin has had one of the best seasons of his career last year with then rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels under center. McLaurin finished as the wide receiver 7 in fantasy football for 2024. He also finished with nearly 1,100 receiving yards and ranked 12th among wide receivers in those yards. McLaurin also finished with a career-high 13 touchdowns, second among wide receivers. A 70% catch rate and 13.4 yards per reception are also good nods for the kind of season that McLaurin had. Even with all this production, the Commanders are still slow walking this new contract. Now, from their side, I do understand why they may be a little apprehensive about signing McLaurin to another deal. McLaurin turns 30 years old this season, and should he get another 4-year deal, he would be on the wrong side of 30 by the time the deal is done. Locking a potential 34-year-old wide receiver on a long-term deal isn't exactly great. McLaurin also wants a new contract that's north of $30 million a year. But Commanders GM Adam Peters recently said that they do want to get a deal done, stating, "We're going to do everything we can in order to get a deal done. In terms of where we're at, we've had conversations recently and will look to have even more conversations." McLaurin, however, told reporters before the start of training camp that there weren't any progressive conversations between both sides of the contract situation. Now, he's not even showing up to camp, and he missed the conditioning test that got everything kicked off. Both sides will have to come to an agreement sooner rather than later. No one can deny how important Terry McLaurin is to the continued progress of Daniels and the Commanders' offense. McLaurin finished with 117 targets last season and was one of Daniels' favorite targets. McLaurin was also one of the better wide receivers in contested catches last year, catching 29 passes at a catch rate of 58.6% and ranked 8th among wide receivers in contested catches. McLaurin is just too important to the Commanders, and fantasy managers would get a solid high-end wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside based on his wide receiver 17 ADP according to fantasy data. McLaurin is a good addition to fantasy rosters because of his role and upside with Daniels throwing the rock his way. The hope here is that the contract negotiations don't linger on into training camp and that the deal gets done long before the regular season begins. McLaurin has alluded to possibly missing training camp and games should a deal not get done in time. That should be the only thing to give fantasy managers pause come draft time. So, continued monitoring of McLaurin's situation is key. But that will wrap it up for this episode of The Blitz. Make sure that you're subscribed to the Fantasy's Finest YouTube channel or on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you don't miss out on the show. See you guys in the next one.
Yo, come back now, you hear?